Salutations, my fiendish film fanatics. I am the Silver Screen Slasher, and welcome back to Mad May. And joining me this time, and for this quick little mini review, is my good buddy Cinemastein. Say hello.
Hello, everyone. And if you're wondering, where's good old Spike Green? Sadly, he couldn't make it to this review today, but to the to this review, it's just gonna be me and Silver.
Yeah, long story short, let's just say Immortan Joe got to him first. Yes. Anyway, today we're going to
Oh,
continuing.
and one for this one be a bit of a. Oh, sorry. There might be this review though might be a little shorter than the usual ones because just to put it short, I have a bit of a like deadline to end this place for us to end this review. So yeah, sorry, we're gonna have to keep this one a little short.
Uh, no, no harm, no foul, Elstein. Anyway, today, this time we're going to be looking at Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, released in 1985, and honestly, my favorite film of the Mad Max anthology. This, so, Stein, do you have any background knowledge on this one, just in case?
Not really. Sadly, I actually didn't really do any research for this one. Sorry about that, guys. If you were curious about any interesting facts about Beyond Thunderdome.
Eh, honestly, that's okay. Eh, eh, And surprisingly, this, believe it or not, this was actually the first Mad Max movie I watched growing up. I didn't watch Road Warrior or the original film, and hell, at the time I watched it was airing on TV, and at least a few years before Fury Road. So honestly, it was a pretty big first time experience for me. The best I can tell is that after the success of Mad Max 2, the people behind the film, mainly director George Miller and writer Terry Hayes, thought they could introduce a bit more of an interesting element to the series. So we, mm,
Actually,
we
now thinking about it, I actually lied to you guys though. I actually at least have one interesting fact for you guys, but I'm not going to say it not until like near the last few minutes of the review.
well in that case, this by this point we survived. We survived going mad. We we faced the Road Warrior, and now, our future is looking. We have to go beyond. And so let's take a look at Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome and see and basically explain why we don't need another hero for this review. The film takes place, I guess, a few years after the events of Road Warrior, and picks us up once again with Max, played for the third and final time in the series by Mel Gibson. This, yes, for those of you who are experiencing the Mad Max films for the first time, after Thunderdome, the series went dormant for a few years and wouldn't come back until Fury Road. Fine?
Yep. But anyway, I know we haven't really introduced this character yet, but also this film stars Tina Turner. That's right, the famous musical pop star or rock star, whatever she was, who plays the villain of the movie.
Auntie Entity. And she's basically the leader of a small, post-apocalyptic little civilization known as Bartertown. And and and, and, when and most of the rules there are decided in a little place called the Thunderdome.
Yep.
And surprisingly, Max is obviously running low on fuel and water. So he looks to Auntie Entity, as mentioned previously, played by Tina Turner, to see if he can get a job up there. And honestly, I do believe this is this is the most interesting one of the whole bunch. Mainly because it's not like the OG Mad Max, where it was just balls to the wall craziness, or Road Warrior, where it was just one big chase film. No. This one focuses more on character development and basically getting us to experience what everyone else is feeling. I mean, not just as Max himself, but also Auntie Entity, as well as a few with the other members of Bartertown who are getting sick and tired of the way they're living and just want to be free.
That's true. Well, mate, actually, you are right there, Scylla. PS warning for you guys as well. This Mad Max film, this literally is the only one in the franchise that is not like the other films at all. It's not like batshit insane and with crazy stunts and action and effects and everything. No, this one, well, don't get me wrong though, it still has a little bit of that, but not really that much at all. Which, no
Yeah.
offense though, probably the one criticism so far I have about this film is, I will admit it still, I feel like it could have maybe used a little bit more craziness, the usual craziness of Mad Max action, but I don't know, at least
Oh,
we
don't.
got a bit of it.
Oh, don't worry. Hey, the craziness is I haven't even explained some of the craziest bits. For example, on the end, explaining how Bartertown's electrical supply it mainly depends on a crude methane refinery that's powered by pig shit. I kid you not, pig shit.
Yeah, yeah, actually, that's true. And also, the one thing I now must say that I do love about this film, right, is no offense to Mad Max 2 and the first one, at least up to this point in the series, besides Fury Road, but of course we'll get into detail of that one later, of course. But still, Beyond Thunderdome to me has some of the best lines, at least, and some of the most memorable ones up to this moment in the series. Like,
Mm-hmm.
who runs Bartertown? And Mars and Master Blaster and Fury Road Battle. So, and I mean, 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. And
Speaking
Raggy
of
Man.
speaking of Master Blaster, I do believe we should actually introduce Max. I believe if at this point in the movie, Max has been locked up in Thunderdome and is forced to fight to the death against Master Blaster. And as Stein mentioned earlier, the only rule of, of Thunderdome is 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. That means, long story short, somebody gonna die, and that mainly
Yep.
focuses
Although,
on.
no offense, here's the one thing now, and the one thing that I hate and love about this fight scene. The one thing I love about it is, of course, how quick and cool it looks at times, and and I love the setting of it too. But then here's the one thing I hate about it.
Oh
Why
yeah,
are they
what's that?
tied up to these rope things? If you know what I mean? Because no offense, think about it. Don't you think it looks like this, Slashy? You know those little harnessed baby things that babies use when they're like dangling from one of those wire things or whatever you call them, with the straps and the thingies on them. Well, still, they look like babies kind of jumping up and down with those harness things on. I mean,
Yeah,
it looks a little goofy at times.
yeah. I will admit, to me, it did look kind of like an apocalyptic rendition of Cirque du Soleil. So, in all saying, that's the only nitpick I have about the scene. But of course, we should mention Max's opponents, the the duo of Master Blaster. Master, played by Angelo Rosito, and Blaster, Master's silent and mentally impaired bodyguard, played by Paul Larson. These two are a very interesting combo. One of them being the brains, one of them being the brawn, and,
Yep.
which
Oh, and
which is pretty
another
common
thing
in,
there that I
in a
wasn't
lot of movies.
disappointed about. Oh, I almost forgot to say this, but yeah, as Spike normally does for each review, spoiler warnings, of course. But when Master Blaster is unmarked, I was hoping, oh, what's he gonna look like? He's probably hideous. He's probably ugly as shit or something. But honestly, I thought his appearance was a little disappointing, at
Yeah,
least to me.
eventually, eventually though, when Master Blaster
Because
is revealed, it's just
I was hoping to see him like on an uglier than Sin, or on a maybe possibly a half burnt face or something. Nah, it's just
it's just a
kind of
big guy and a
random.
little guy.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, though, I wasn't really bummed out by that because as it did make things a little bit more interesting. As as mentioned, now we're going to be spoiling a few things about Thunderdome. So if you don't want anything spoiled, go watch the movie for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You've been warned. Okay, eventually at the end of the fight in Thunderdome, Max actually manages to kill Blaster, and everyone else in Bartown just keeps chanting 2 men until 1 man leaves. wanting him to kill Master as well. Of course, Max refuses, and the two of them are locked up.
Yeah. Oh, and I almost forgot, but here's probably another one, and probably the last memorable line about the movie that they say in this particular part as well. So, bust the deal, face the wheel. Bust the deal, face the wheel. Speaking of still, I must say the lines in this film, they're just so memorable. In fact, they're just really
Yeah,
damn
there
well
are at least
done.
a few memorable lines when it comes to Thunderdome. So obviously we can't nitpick on that. Eventually, though, there is, of course, there is also one other thing we should mention. There are also a bunch of kids in Bartertown that are being held captive, and Max has to save all their asses as well. And eventually he does so by managing through yet another epic chase scene, similar to the chase scene of Road Warrior. And honestly, in comparing the two, they're actually pretty good. Likewise.
Yeah, it's not. It's still at least it felt like Mad Max. This one, unlike the previous chase, this one I feel like it's of course more of an escape because he has to get all the kids and actually I believe Master, not Blaster, but anyway you'll find out why it's not Blaster. But
Yeah.
anyway, Master though, right? He escapes with them too, and a few and the pilot, by the way, from the second movie, he makes a comeback in this film, by the way. Oh, and
I,
also I believe he has a son.
not exactly. It's true. Eventually, Max and Max's whole motley crew run to Bruce Spence, playing a character known as Jebediah the Pilot, which is not the same as the Gyro Captain from Road Warrior. One big
Oh,
difference is
sorry.
one big difference in this one is he has a kid, Jedediah Jr., played by, and I'm not kidding about the actor's name, Adam Cockburn.
Okay, weird.
I know, weird name. Hey, just go with it. And the point is, eventually, the, is that they're beating, after wiping out Auntie's men, and with Auntie sparing Max's life, having actually respected him, which is something you don't usually see in an action movie like this. The bad guy respecting the good guy and not backstabbing them and killing them.
Uh, Two things. Well, actually, one thing though that you guys actually do not know. Here's now the one interesting fact. Originally, for Beyond Thunderdome, that ending, Max was actually supposed to even be killed off in that very scene. I'm not kidding. He was supposed to die
But
in Beyond Thunderdome.
yeah, but it turns out that people like Max so much that they decided to keep that they didn't kill him. They just at this space unknown. Like literally, Jedediah actually manages to fly the children off to the coast.
Yeah, actually, speaking of,
Discover joke. Then and many years later, they've established a small society themselves and other lost wanderers.
by the way, one quick thing, but yes, if you guys didn't know, if you've seen the poster for the film, um, there are Max does come across a bunch of kids later on in the film in this little village that they've established. Anyway, that there's a scene where he hangs out in their village for quite a while, and they talk about this character named Captain Walker and how they think Max is that pilot or whatever that saved them. Um,
mm-hmm.
but anyway, still a bit of more character development stuff happens there. But since of course at times it to me can drag a little bit, we're not going to go into real big detail about that. You just
Mm-hmm.
have to find out for yourself.
Eventually, he would discover that Max has been left in a to wander the wastelands. His fate left unknown till the next time we see him. Is and that what and that was Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. I will admit, I wanted to give this film a little bit more depth into it, but it's with Stein's deadline and all. I didn't want to rush it either.
Mm.
Also, one other thing to note is that this film actually is responsible for a very special song on the soundtrack. Hey, one sung by Tina Turner himself called "We Don't Need Another Hero." I would used it as the opening song, but I didn't want to get it struck with copyright strikes.
Oh, speaking of, funny you actually mentioned that song. I actually literally just heard that song not too long ago on the radio.
Huh. Talk about ironic. Anyways,
Yeah.
all in all, Beyond Thunderdome was not don't. Well, my final thoughts are that when you watch Beyond Thunderdome, don't go into the movie and trying suspecting thinking that's going to be another action-packed film. This one acts as more uh, like a storybook, basically.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, just
It's
so
trying to actually from point A to point B.
yeah, just so let you know as well that yes, this film is not like the other Mad Max films. Warning, it is more, of course, as Silver just said before, it is more about character development. It is so there aren't that many wacky, crazy, action-packed scenes, but still, I didn't mind it. I thought it was all right. No offense. I wouldn't say it's the greatest, but it's still all right. I guess I wouldn't say
Yeah,
I hate it, but
in short,
it's just
yeah,
kind of random to me. Really, it's just kind of like, yeah, it's all right. I
yeah.
guess.
All in all, I
Oh,
give
and
Mad Max
one other thing, I guess this is a bit of a fact, but the first two films, of course, they were directed by pretty much they were made by mostly Australians, but the third film was actually done by the Americans.
Yeah, it was a co-direction between George Miller and George Ogilvy, and honestly, it does show a little bit, but still, it doesn't matter if it was made by Australians, Americans, or hell, even the Japanese. This is still a good film, which is why I give Beyond Thunderdome 9 out of 10 stars. Stein?
Uh, this might be a little shocking, but I actually might at least give this film a 6 out of 10. Still, not amazing, not I wouldn't say good either, but okay. Just to me, it's more of an okay film.
Hmm. Uh. Oh, I get
But
your
there
point.
were still things, of course, that I honestly thought were pretty dang good about it. Of course, like the great memorable lines in this, some of the action sequences I actually thought were pretty good at time, and a few other stuff, and even a bit of its character development as well. And
Hmm.
honestly, I thought Tina Turner's performance was pretty good too.
Hmm.
Thought she was
Well
a
spoken,
pretty
my man.
enjoyable villain actually as well.
Hmm. Indeed. Next, next time, and the last time for Mad May, which honestly it will be a bit late considering in the time that in these videos will go up on YouTube. We'll be looking at the final film of the series for now, and show if the world truly has gone mad as as we take a look at Mad Max Fury Road. Until then, mm, mm, until then, my friends, don't get more than just even. Don't get just make sure not to stay mad. See ya.
See ya.